Hey, I told you so. And I told you that the way that Magnus Carlsen was playing his games were like a warrior. He was coming after his opponent when he had the white pieces. And Jan Nepo, his strategy was just poking the bear. But instead of just getting a win off by finding a weak spot, he poked the bear where the bear retaliated with a win. And so we're going to figure out how the win transpired. And I know that I missed a few games, and I know that we have 4 games to go over. But we're going to go over every single game. We're going to be going over the longest World Chess Championship game ever in history. And we're going to be going over how Jan Nepo lost 2 more games after losing that first one. And then we're going to go over the draw too. And we're going to be doing a full analysis on these games. So just sit back, relax, and let's just learn together on what to do and what not to do and the mentality of both players, because clearly these are strong grandmasters, but you can see in these games who is better and who is worse. Let's go over it. So, oh, wait a minute. Wrong thing. Wrong thing. So, here's the thing. I was looking at these games and then I was realizing I had some thoughts in the beginning, like on the 5th game, right? And I was like, man, the way that Jan was playing, he's not playing like he should be playing. The energetic attacking spirit that he was playing in the Canada's tournament. It was really different. And I know he had a strategy coming into the World Chess Championship game, but he failed. He failed. He definitely let some people down. Definitely in the interviews too, because even in the interviews, he seemed defeated. He even apologized for the losses that he even had in the World Chess Championship, that he didn't live up to his standards pretty much. And that fighting spirit seemed like it disappeared during that interview, but in order for you to know the feelings of Jan Nepo and Magnus Carlsen, which Magnus Carlsen still respected Jan Nepo, which is cool. He still respected him. These are 2 great grandmasters who have fought long and hard. And the World Chess Championship format is for 2 great players to butt head for a long period of time. Whoever wins the most games win the championship, right? And so let's just figure out what happened, what mistakes were made, and let's just start from there. We got this game. We got this first game. One of the longest games in the World Chess Championship. And I'm not going to lie, it was 136 moves, which was insane. And let's just figure out what Magnus Carlsen did and how Jan played in this game. So we got d4, knight f6, knight f3, d5, g3. And we're already in this opening. We kind of got like a little Catalan going, but it's kind of still a Queen's Pawn game. The Catalan will be when Magnus Carlsen plays c4. But let's see what happens. So we got e6, bishop g2, bishop e7, castle, castle, b3. So we don't got a Catalan. It's kind of a pseudo Catalan, but it's one of those offbeat openings that most people be playing. It's definitely gonna be going into like a double fee and kettle variation. And now black attacked the center with c5, d takes c5, bishop takes c5, c4, d takes c4. Didn't queen trade. Magnus Carlsen did not queen trade at all, right? And we're still not out of the opening. queen e7, knight bd2, knight c6, knight takes c4, b5, knight ce5, knight b4, queen b2. We still got some pieces that's not developed, so I'm still just going to go until it's actually the middle game. Bishop b7, a3, knight c6, knight d3, not queen, bishop b6, bishop g5, and let's just begin it here, right? I guess we could do this. That seems like a good move, right? To end it. And when you went to this variation, you're gonna have to analyze what to do next because the computer is giving it 0, 0, 0, 0. Now, when you look at the position, you see a symmetrical pawn structure, right? White has 4 pawns on the king side, and black has 4 pawns on the king side too, and 2 pawns on the queen side, as white has 2 pawns on the queen side, right? So it's definitely a symmetrical position dealing with the pawns. There's nothing dynamic about it, so you can already see that it's mostly going to be about piece activity, who has the better pieces, who has the better coordination, right? And when you look at the pieces, I always like white side in this position, even though it is pretty equal. This bishop's already on this diagonal, so once this knight move, it's going to be hard for white to move this knight on f3 to be at a better position. So once these bishops gets traded off, then that goes into drawish territories. And that's pretty much what everybody was assuming, that this would be a draw, right? Because in the first 4 games, which we pretty much went over, and my mistake, this is the 6th game. In the first 5 games or whatever, we thought that, we're going to be seeing draws until like the end of the match. And so, give me one sec. Okay. Distractions, I hate them. And so when we noticed that like the first 5 games was draws, we was getting bored. And if you looked at my last video, I was kind of irritated that we was going through this phase of just draws, and everybody hates stalemate and draws. We don't want to see half points. We want to see wins and losses. We want to see who has the decisiveness, and we want to see the pretty much the person who don't have much of a chance to do an upset, right? And that's what we want to see. But with the first 5 games, I was expecting, man, if we're seeing this many draws, then it might take like a few more games for them to fill each other out, right? And so that's what I expected from this game. Once I seen this position, I was like, this might be a draw. Because let's evaluate it right quick. I already evaluated some of it, but let's finish it. So when we look in this position, okay, we talked about the light square bishops. This bishop is pinning that knight, so this knight has nowhere to go. This bishop is clearly, it doesn't really have a job yet until this knight moves or this rook moves and this pawn on f2 becomes weak. So this bishop doesn't really have a specific job. This knight don't really. They have some holes. They have some squares to hop into. Not that many. Just that d4 square. We need to still get this rook in the game. And white is basically the same way. Still get this rook in the game. We kicked the knight off of b4 and did a3, and it's pretty equal. We got some tension on that f6 knight, so we can take that f6 knight to ruin their pawn structure on any time, but that would give them the 2 bishop advantage, which is very special. And so there's a lot of ways to play this position. Probably rook d1 is the most boring, so Magnus took the initiative to just create an imbalance. So Magnus did bishop takes f6, g takes f6, rook ac1, knight d4, knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, queen a2. And this queen is at a bad spot, but the computer is still saying that this is completely drawn. There's no winning this. I mean, if you look at both of the queens, they're not doing anything, right? And this queen had to move to a2 to still protect that a3 pawn. And so, again, everybody was expecting a draw. There was no other alternative here. And so we have to just keep on going on with the position. Bishop takes g2, king takes g2, queen b7, king g1, queen e4, queen c2, moving it somewhere where you can get the queen active. And then a5, rook fd1, king g7, rook d2, just doing a move. You could do any move in this position. The computer likes e3, rook d2, queen d2, just any move is fine. Rook d2, rook a c1. Not rook a c1, rook a c8. And this is when the game got a little bit sketchy because it seemed like Jan Nepo was going for more of an imbalance, right? More of a win. And so this is when the game got a little bit crazy. I'm not going to lie. It got a little bit crazy. And so after this game, after this move, right? White had two options. Queen d1 or take rook. Which, take rook is just explanatory, right? Because you trade your queen, get two rooks equals 10 points, and you're giving them a queen, which equals 9 points. So you're up 1 point. And that's good for you. And so Magnus Carlsen did that. They traded the queen for the two rooks. The queen was traded for two rooks. Which, if you look at the position after that, is still pretty drawn, but there is an imbalance. Black had to play the correct moves still, and white had to play the correct moves. And this gave more of a winning chance for both sides. There is something else to play for, which that's what I like. I like this for Jan Nepo and for Magnus Carlsen, because this is the first time Jan Nepo wanted to win a game throughout the whole World Chess Championship. And I wish that Jan Nepo was playing like this when he was the white pieces, having that first move advantage, right? And so after queen d5, b4, a4, e3, bishop e5, h4, h5, king h2, bishop b2, attacking these dark square pawns. Something just went wrong here for some reason. Just that move, bishop b2, was just wrong. Because I guess you can take that bishop with the rook or knight, but you can't do that because if you take with the knight, the queen takes rook. If you take it with the rook, the queen takes knight. And so Magnus Carlsen just did the move, which was self-explanatory, rook c5, because black tried to be fancy with this move, with this bishop b2 move, which I don't know how much time they had at this moment, but you have to calculate things very carefully before you do moves like that, especially when there's tempos on the board that white can do, like rook c5, because after rook c5, we're attacking both pawns, the h5 pawn and the b5 pawn. Black's best move in this position was queen d7. But black did the worst move, which was queen d6. And after that, rook d1. And so white missed his opportunity by doing rook d1, and white should have just did rook c2. And if he would have did this, bishop takes, knight f4, not that move. Oh my goodness, knight f4. Is that the right move? Yeah, that's the right move. Knight f4, queen f8, and rook d7. It would have just been horrible, right? The bishop's out the game. You're attacking their king with 3 pieces. It would have just been bad. But white did rook d1. Bishop takes a3. Rook takes b5. Black is in a winning position. Not winning, but white has an edge. It's white only did an inaccuracy, but white isn't losing, right? White is not losing at all in this position because there's still more to fight for. Queen d7, rook c5, e5, rook c2. And Jan Nepo had an opportunity in this position to come back. Because if he would have just did bishop takes b4, it would have just been a clean cut. You would have got yourself a pass pawn. You couldn't take the bishop with the knight because of this pin. It would have just been smooth. But Jan Nepo did queen d5, equaled it out again. Rook d2, queen b3, complete drawn position again. And I like these positions for these grandmasters because they have to cipher through all this mess, and you really didn't know who was going to win or not. And I'm always on the side of the 2 rooks because the 2 rooks can handle themselves better than the 1 queen because the 2 rooks have a cooperation, a partnership. So when they get together, they can face anything, especially 1 queen. Not 2 queens, but 1 queen they can get together and handle, right? And rook a2, e4, big move, big mess up. e4, knight c5, we're attacking the pawn, we're attacking the queen, we're attacking the rook. Queen takes b4, knight takes e4. If queen takes, we're taking the rook. I mean, not the rook, we're taking the bishop. Queen b3, keeping the 2 pieces, a completely equal position. Rook ac2, bishop f8, knight c5, queen b5, knight d3, a3, and knight f4, queen a5, rook a2, and bishop b4, rook d3, and it seems like a drawn position, right? It seems like something that, it seems like, let me just talk for a minute. It's been a while since I just talked. It seems like a position where black couldn't advance anymore. It seems like a position where a draw should have came about in this position. And we're in move 43 right now. It's a long drawn out game. An hour already passed. They reached the 40 move limit. And you remember from my first video, I'll talk about the format when once you reach 40 moves, they give you an extra hour to play the rest of the moves. So they took a break and was analyzing the game so far. So in this little section, this is where the game went a little bit tricky. Let's continue. let's continue. Uh, crap, 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 crap. There we go. King h6, rook d1, queen a4, rook da1, bishop d6, king g1, queen b3, knight e2, queen d3, knight d4, king h7, king h2, queen e4, rook takes a3. The moment when Magnus Carlsen busts through. Now, if the queen was still here defending this pawn, then we could have just had this back and forth. The black king just moving the queen everywhere, just trying to figure out what's going on here instead of just moving the queen away from this a pawn, because this a pawn was keeping the white pieces on the edge of the board, which would have ended up in a draw. But since Jan Nepo was still fighting for a win, he did queen e4. Rook takes a3. Magnus Carlsen saw his opportunity and he took it. Queen takes h4. King g1. Queen e4. And if you're wondering why black didn't take the rook, this would have been a major mistake, because knight, rook, extra pawn equals queen. Okay? 9, 9. But white has more cooperation in this position. And he can finesse this position very easily. I mean, even if they do f5, your best move right here is like, I don't know, rook a5, attacking this pawn already, and they're forced to do f4, and the pawn structure of black is really flimsy, and you shouldn't be playing with this at all. And so that was a bad position to go into. That's why black didn't capture that rook. So after rook a4, bishop e5, knight e2, queen c2, rook 1 a2, queen b3, king g2. And if my voice is getting a mellow tone a little bit, just remember, it is 136 moves, and I'm trying to keep my vocal cords in check to say all of these moves, because, it's 136 moves. That's insane. I can't even imagine sitting on the board for that long notating everything. But queen d5, f3, we're pushing up the pawns. Queen d1, f4, bishop c7, king f2, bishop e6, rook a1, queen b3, rook e4, king g7, rook e8, f5, rook a8, queen b4, rook a c8. If I was looking at this position, and this is a completely drawn position again by the computer standards, even though there's two rooks and a knight versus a queen and a bishop, I would still take white's position, because it's easier to play with two rooks than a queen, especially if you have a good pawn structure and your king is defended. It's not like your king can be attacked so easily at this position. So yeah, white's position is really easy to play, and you have to stay focused in black's position, because one wrong move can mess you up for the whole entire game. So here's the thing. Let's just keep on going. Bishop a5, rook c1, bishop b6, rook e5, queen b3, rook e8, queen d5, rook c8. And we're threatening these checks always, right? Or threatening to get behind this h-pawn to take that. Queen h1. Now we're getting some business done. Getting behind, trying to check the king and put the white king in a compromised situation. Rook c1, queen d5. What happens if the queen goes up to check the king? King f3. And there's no more checks. And so the queen will have to go to h3. Which, that doesn't really do anything. You can just do rook b8 or something, attack the bishop, and there's really nothing, right? There's nothing. The checks doesn't lead to anything. So that's why Jan Nepo just moved back with the queen, just to get more of a central type of domination, because the queen in the center takes over a lot more squares than the queen on the edge of the board. And in this position, you do not want to make a bad move, a wrong move. Rook b1, bishop a7, rook e7, bishop c5, rook e5, which this is kind of getting scary because this rook is attacking these weak pawns and attacking this bishop and queen. Queen d3, attacking this rook. But then rook b7, and we don't want both of the rooks to get on the 7th rank, which is not possible with this dark square bishop. Queen c2, rook b5. And it gets a little bit tricky from here because this rook wasn't able to go to b5 because the queen was covering this spot. But since the queen moved from d3 to c2, then that's when the rook went down to b5. And once this bishop moves, the bishop can take the f5 pawn. But there was a lot of calculation here because when the bishop moved, which the bishop did to a7, then rook a5, Magnus Carlsen just getting more time on his clock. Bishop e6, rook a b5, bishop a7, and we decided to take the pawn. Queen d3, and just white is up a pawn right now with two of the rooks. So I'm guessing that black messed up. He messed up. He gave white an edge, especially allowing that rook b5 move. Rook takes f7, an amazing sacrifice. King takes f7, rook b7, check, fork the bishop and the king. King g6, rook takes a7. Queen d5, rook a6, check, king h7, rook a1, king g6, knight d4. And white has a little bit more room to just have the pieces have more space in the center and to release the tension, since that dark square bishop isn't honing in on that e3 pawn like it was before. And the knight and the rook can really go into action, even though that combination can suck or it could be a really beautiful thing. You just never know. Queen b7, rook a2. Let me just drink some water because, this throat is getting dry. I'm not going to lie. It's crazy. It's a lot of moves. When I decided to do this, I wasn't expecting to... I wasn't expecting it to be this hard. I'm not going to lie. We're to 81 moves right now. Just to let you know, we're to 81 moves. Gosh, Lee. Oh, man. But anyway, we're probably... Dude, that's such an ugly noise. Okay. Okay, the break is done. We're back. Queen h1. Rook check. Rook to a6 check. King f7. Knight f3. Queen b1. Rook d6. King g7. Rook d5. Queen a2 check. Rook d2. Queen b1. Rook e2. Queen b6. Rook c2. Queen b1. Knight d4. Queen h1. Rook c7 check. King f6. And this is during a time when they was low on time. They're at 95 moves. They're playing on the increment. They only have like minutes. This is pretty much a blitz game right now. And Magnus Carlsen is trying to finesse this because White has the edge and Black has to fight for his life. And it came down to White going for the win in this position. And so Rook takes, not Rook takes, man, gosh, Rook c6 check, King f7, Knight f3, Queen b1, Knight g5, King g7, Knight e6 check, King f7, maneuvering the knight to the center, just doing moves, Knight d4. And notice this coordination right now, because usually when you're down on time and you're down on time and you want to make sure that all of your pieces are protecting each other just in case of some forks, because one thing to look after when your opponent has loose pieces, look for forks, checks, forcing moves that can change the position, and tactics are very useful when there are loose pieces. But White has no loose pieces. They're all protected by somebody. Queen h1, Rook c7 check, King f6, Knight f3, Queen b1, Rook d7, Queen b2, Rook d2. You seen that move right there? That's a slide move. Going to Rook d2 to protect the king. Queen b1, Knight g1, Queen b4, Rook d1, Queen b3, Rook d6, King g7, Rook d4, Queen b2 check, Knight e2, Queen b1, e4. The first move to push up the dang pawn. Man, it took a while, but you know the principle. The principle still applies. If you have passed pawns, why not push them? Why not push them? And so that's the plan right now, just to push that e4 pawn, because the main job is to try to push these passed pawns to get that one more advantage, or that one more overwhelming factor to your opponent, so that they can mess up. And I kind of bit my tongue, but they can mess up and you can get a tactic and win. So Queen h1, Rook d7 check, King g8, Rook d4, Queen h2 check, King e3, h4, take, check, Queen h3 check, King d2, Queen takes h4, Rook d3, King f8, Rook f3, Queen d8 check, King e3, not Rook, Queen a5, King f2, Queen a7, Rook e3. White is definitely winning this, just to let you know, because 2 pawns, Rook, Knight, that's more than a queen. White should be able to finesse this just to make sure that black has no repetitive checks. And that's the main goal. Black is losing here. I'm pretty sure Jan Nepo kind of felt it happening because white's plan is very simple. White's plan is to push these pawns up, um, maneuver this knight somewhere closer to the king, move the king up with the pawns, and that's pretty much the plan. Queen d7, knight g3, queen d2 check, king f3, queen d1 check, rook e2, queen b3 check, king g2, queen b7, rook d2, queen b3, rook d5, king e7, rook e5 check, king f7, rook f5 check, king e8, e5, queen a2 check, king h3, queen e6, king h4, queen h6 check, knight h5. You see these pieces getting a little bit closer to the king and to that queen in square. That's what's happening. I'm telling you. Queen h7, big mistake. e6, which is crazy because that's just winning. All of a sudden, the best move other than queen h7 was definitely just moving the king somewhere or going queen g6. But after queen h7, e6, imagine if the queen would have just took the rook. That fork is stupid strong. Queen g6, rook f7, king d8, f5, queen g1, knight g7. There is nothing to do about this promotion. You can check him all day long. He will survive. He will survive. You can't protect yourself from those checks. You can't. You can go all the way down here, go all the way back here, and now this is going to happen no matter what, right? And this was pretty interesting. You can even do this, and I think you're still winning, right? You're just still winning after you trade the pawn and the rook for their queen, because this is just gonna queen this pawn on f5. And I'm not gonna lie, this was a very tiring game, but it worked out for Magnus Carlsen, and Jan Nepo lost. Okay. Jan Nepo lost, and it was pretty depressing. I'm not gonna lie. The interviewers, Magnus Carlsen was definitely happy. He played his heart out, and everybody was surprised. Especially when I was working. When I looked at my phone, I was like, yes, and I didn't mean to do that, but it was a really good game, and I enjoyed it. 136 moves I didn't enjoy. I'm not going to lie. I didn't sit through all the moves. But I did go through it, and I was like, this is the game that I wanted in the World Chess Championship, because these moments is what makes you a great player. And at this moment, I was thinking, man, Jan Nepo has to come back with the flames, with the fire, the lightning. You know what makes a great player? When they get beat down, then they come back up and win the next game. Like, no problem. And that's what I was expecting from Jan Nepo. Like, he beat all the candidates players, so I was expecting some comeback. He already is well adjusted in the World Chess Championship. He's doing these boozy Roy Lopez's that didn't get nowhere. And I was like, maybe Jan Nepo might have a chance to get like a comeback streak, and that they could just have wins on wins repeatedly. And this was Jan Nepo's time to get his win. That's what I thought. I was pretty disappointed though when I seen the next game. Let's go over it. Yeah, you thought I was done with this? Nah, we're going through all the games that I missed right now. Yeah, tonight. Yeah. So, let's go to the next game. And this was the 7th game of the World Chess Championship. Right. It wasn't as long as 136 moves, but it was somewhat of a long game. Let's look at the opening that we got. Jan Nepo as the white pieces and Magnus Carlsen as the black pieces. So we got e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, a6, bishop a4, knight f6, kingside castle, bishop e7, rook e1, b5, bishop b3, castle kingside, a4, rook b8, a takes b5, a takes b5. And y'all probably remember this game from, I think it was maybe the third game. Let me check right quick. I think it was maybe the third game. Let me just make sure right quick. Yeah, I think it was the third game that this position repeated. Right. Okay. Oh, no, it wasn't the third game. It was probably the 5th game. I just want to make sure that just got to make sure that I was correct. Yeah. So we're repeating the 5th game, right? And so I thought that since we was repeating the 5th game, that Jan Nepo found some hole in Magnus Carlsen's Roy Lopez, and I was like, okay, that would be the only reason why he would repeat this Roy Lopez after he just lost that vicious game from yesterday, because that's a tiring game, and the only person I can think of that can do A-class moves during that whole game is Magnus Carlsen. I don't picture any other grandmaster who can sit through that grueling game, 136 moves, which Jan Nepo he did fight hard that game. And so I was thinking, man, he probably wants to revenge, some dang revenge to get back at Magnus Carlsen. That's what I was thinking. That was the idea. Right. Let's continue. H3, D6, D3, H6, knight C3, rook E8, knight D5, trading off pieces. Once I seen this move, I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was a bad sign. I mean, I'm even looking on the dang the lead chess database right now of masters, and it's already a draw. So I was like, oh my goodness, why is he trading pieces right now? Why did he go through this variation if he was just gonna trade his dang pieces? Bishop f8, trade the knight, queen takes f6, c3, knight e7, bishop e3, bishop e6, trading the bishop, d4. And just think about this. And Magnus Carlsen is being a good sport. But when Magnus Carlsen trades pieces as the black pieces, he's winning. He's consolidated. His main purpose is to make at least a drawn position out of this, right? Because he has the black pieces and he goes second. And the white pieces are supposed to take the initiative to attack their opponent and to make sure they know that they go second and that they are the ones that are being attacked because they are the black pieces, right? And they go second, right? And that's how the game works. They're second player of the game. And so E takes D4, C takes D4, bishop takes B3, queen takes B3, knight G6, targeting this F4 square. We got this rook going. This bishop is crap. This rook is crap. But this rook is doing something by protecting this B5 pawn. But we really don't want anything happening with this knight on F4 and this queen go to the G line and start attacking this king. Rook EC1. So we got C5, trading up more pieces. E5, queen F5, D takes C5, D takes C5, bishop takes C5, bishop takes C5, rook takes c5, knight takes e5, knight takes e5, rook takes e5, rook takes e5, queen takes e5. Do I need to go over this game more? You already know what this game is. This is horrible.
God, please, no.
This is bad, right? You already know what this game is. It's not like some dope game. This sucks. This is garbage. And I was thinking to myself, like, you lost the last game. There's two. Okay, let me give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say I was on Jan Nepo's side. Would I want to go on the extreme on the next game? Would I want to go for the win the next game? Probably not, since I tried to go for the win on the last game and I got demolished. It wasn't like a massacre. It was a grueling, long game. So I'm thinking that he went for something simple to just try to stop the tilt. And this is like one of the strategies to stop the tilt. But I don't know what's the best strategy. To try to stop the tilt first, or try to, like, since it's such an important tournament, to still go for your opponent and not waste your white pieces. You understand what I'm saying? Am I tripping, or am I just like, am I clear? I don't know. Just say it in the comments. That's just what I'm thinking right now. But I feel like that he should have went for it. Went for something more complicated, because now he's in this like stressful situation. And I'm going to be explaining more like what clearly happened in the next few games too. But we're going to just like calculate this last draw that happened. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This was a draw. So there's nothing interesting about it. I'm just being real. I'm not playing. I'm just being real about the whole situation. Queen c3, queen takes c3, b takes c3, rook c8. Yeah. We're just gonna go through this because this is clearly a draw and it's boring, and this is the rest of the game that happened, and white clearly didn't go for nothing else. So that's what happened that game. And, you know, it wasn't exciting. It was nothing, right? Because I think everybody was expecting Jan Nepo to, like, go for it a lot more than how he did. But at the same time, people were glad that it wasn't another loss. Jan Nepo didn't lose again, and that was an upside. That was good. And so he does have a lot more times to beat the white pieces. And so the only thing is, he has to face Magnus Carlsen with the white pieces again. And Magnus Carlsen have been dominating Jan Nepo. And not just winning games, just psychologically winning games with facing Jan Nepo with the white pieces, because he's been stressing out, it seems like, you know, especially though that first game of Magnus Carlsen having the white pieces. And one of the things I said in the first game was like, man, what if Magnus Carlsen just keep on coming at Jan Nepo with the white pieces, right? Keep on like trying to strategically just wear him out with just tactics and an unclear position, dynamic position. What if that happens? Who can last more? The person who has been reigning champion for almost a decade, or the challenger? That first game, that game that we just seen, just cleared out that whole situation. By Magnus Carlsen winning that first game is a big psychological shift. Now Jan Nepo is like, he's in like I have to win mode. And I have to win mode is bad. But let's go to the next game right quick. Yeah, let's go to the next game. Dang. Well, I thought that, man, I thought that was the pause button, but it wasn't. So now I gotta go to the next game, and I don't get to cut this stuff out. All right. So this game was pretty fun. This game was fun because let's see what Magnus Carlsen did. E4, E5, knight F3, knight F6. We're facing the Russian game, the Petrov. D4, knight takes E4, bishop takes E4, and this is the Russian game, modern attack, center variation, or whatever. So we got D5, knight takes E5, knight D7, knight takes D7, bishop takes D7, knight D2, knight takes D2, bishop takes D2, bishop D6, kingside castle, H5, queen E1, king F8, and we got some like weird position right now. We do. When I analyze this position, I see a man that's trying to win a chess game. King is still in the middle. We're pushing up H5 to try to get some weaknesses on the king side. We're probably going to be rook lifting this H8 rook on the H file. And we're trying to attack. We're going to probably be moving this queen to H4 maybe pretty soon. Or this queen to F6. But this is the idea. I see his idea. This is desperate playing though. But I'm not going to lie. After this next move, bishop b4, I kind of got a little bit mad at Magnus Carlsen. Because I was like, why are you exchanging pieces? But at the same time, I'm like, well, this bishop would have been a major problem. And it has to be taken out. So I was like, okay, cool, Magnus Carlsen. Yeah, you're doing your stuff. You're doing what you're supposed to do. You're defending. And you're in this position where you don't have to win. Jan Nepo has to win now. And that's mentally tough on somebody. That's mentally tough. Just think about it. And it's not just for you, it's for all your comrades, right? For everybody who's like cheering you on. It's not just for you. So it's pretty tough. This is a tough situation, and Black got to try something. Queen E7, bishop takes D6, queen takes D6, queen D2, and this seems like a normal game, honestly. You can move this king up, and it could be a normal game. We could draw and just get this game over with. Put this rook on E8 right quick, and we're done. We're cool. Which that's what Black did. Put this rook on E8, rook A, E1, and Magnus Carlsen didn't care about trading pieces and getting a draw because Black was the one that's supposed to be going for that win. Because if they get just all draws after this, Magnus Carlsen will win the game. Will win the World Chess Championship because he got that one win. So, rook H6, queen G5, C6, rook takes that, bishop takes E8, rook E1, queen F6. So we're trading off everything? I don't know. But Magnus Carlsen decided not to trade the queens because, I mean, why give this rook some space? Why give this rook anything when that rook is like a stupid right now? Like, so that's why Magnus Carlsen just moved the queen back. Simple move, because this rook can't go to G6, can't go to H7, and you don't want to go back to H8. That's just pitiful. And so Black is really uncomfortable right now. And a mess up can happen. Bishop D7, H3, give yourself a luft. H4, have to give yourself some more room for your rook maybe. Probably put your rook up one more square. C4, creating some captures and some more threats. D takes C4, bishop takes C4, B5, check. I don't know what this B5 move was for, but it's not a really good move. And that check should have been seen. And I think it was seen. Except, I think it wasn't. I think it wasn't. I think just Black just lost a pawn for no reason. I don't know. I think he thought that when he did b5, attacking the bishop, he didn't think that the white queen would be attacking his bishop. So if he took c4, then you can just capture their bishop. And queen d8, bishop b3, rook d6, horrible move. Rook e4, best move of the position. Magnus Carlsen found out of nowhere. And he's such a player, like, you don't give him an inch, right? You don't give him a winning opportunity. And the game was kind of going sideways when that rook on h6 was just doing nothing. Was just doing nothing. Just sit on the side of the board, and you just had this pressure on them. And you did c4, just creating problems, just doing the thing that you do always in drawn positions, which that wasn't a really drawn position because black pieces were whack. They suck. Honestly, they was trash. And so white took advantage of that. It wasn't a lost position, but a human player can get overwhelmed in that simple position and lose very carelessly. And that's when black lost a pawn, and now they're in this like weird, awkward position, right? And so let's go back. So we got bishop e6, just trying to trade pieces. Bishop takes e6, rook takes e6, rook takes e6, f takes e6, queen c5. And even though the pieces were traded, does not mean that black is getting away from this loss. White is still up plus 4 points. That is crazy. Like, that's insane. Especially in a queen endgame where usually just draws happen. But the black queen isn't really doing anything, and now we're going to have to protect this c-pawn. So queen a5, just trying to go for some activity because, you know the principle. The best defense is offense, right? That clearly applies. Queen takes c6, queen e1 check, king h2, queen f2. A smart move, queen takes e6. And you might be thinking, why didn't he just cover up this diagonal? Why did he just do queen e6? Well, this draw is not legal because your king is in check, first of all. So you move your king, and then you do queen e4 check, and then you push this pawn. Right, so this queen can't just get a draw because once you go to king h1, you can't go back to queen e1 because this queen is covering that spot. And so all this queen have to do is cover up this e file, and we're all good. There's no draw. And so after b3, queen takes a2, queen e8, check, king h7, queen takes b5. The queen is away from continually checking the white king. Queen f2, queen e5, covering up this diagonal in this e file. No checks whatsoever that can help black. Black goes queen b2, queen e4 check, king g8, queen d3, queen f2, queen c3, queen f4 check, king g1, no more checks. Still, king h7, queen d3 check, g6, queen d1, covering this first rank and probably trying to get some more time. That usually happens in the end games and whatnot. And especially, I mean, they already passed 40 moves, so they got an extra hour, but still, that's all you need is that queen on the first rank and then just start pushing up this pawn. Queen e3 check, g5, dang, g5, d5, g4, h takes g4, h3, queen f3. Queen f3 is a massacre move, man. That's like a... Because what black wanted white to do was just capture that pawn and get these checks in, and this would have been annoying, right? Going to king f1, still winning, but super annoying. Super annoying. So instead of just doing that, why not just threaten to trade queens and bring the queen to the defense and target all these checks, protect everything, and just accomplish the job very smoothly. And so white pretty much won in that position, and black resigned in that queen position. And so we're at a difficult moment, right? We're at a really difficult moment. Black lost that game. Jan Nepo lost that game. And losing one game is bad enough, especially in the World Chess Championship. But two? Man, that's crazy. Give me 1 sec. I'm gonna have to do something. Man, I just drank some water. That mug was really fresh. But anyway, he lost 2 games in the most important championship in the whole entire world, and you lost 2 games? That's pretty bad. And so I could just imagine what you're thinking mentally, like what's going through your head, like what is wrong with me? And the way that you lost, it wasn't even that complicated. It was pretty easy. And during the interview, I watched the press conference, and they keep on asking this guy how he feels about losing. I still don't understand that stupid question. Like, what do you think? What do you think about the situation? How do you think he feels about losing? It sucks losing in the most important chess tournament in the world. They wouldn't be asking Magnus Carlsen that if he was losing. They probably would because the interviewers suck, man. Like, seriously, those interviewing questions are horrible. But anyway, man, it's just depressing. He apologized for the loss. And for somebody to apologize for that loss, he was defeated. There is no fighting spirit left after that second loss, and that is what concerned me. And so now we have to go into the next game and figure out like what's going to happen next in this future. Is he just going to keep on losing games? Is he going to get a draw? Is he going to come back? Because at this moment, he is tilting. He's tilting. There's no doubt about it. He might go on a losing streak after this. And so this next game was really painful to watch. I'm not going to lie. I watched this whole mug. And when I was watching this, I was like, gosh, Lee, you did not have to lose like this. And so c4, which is good. He's finally mixing it up from the Roy Lopez, but it's too late. You should have been doing this in the beginning, trying to mix things up. Like after the third time you had the white pieces, you should have been trying to mix things up. And it's too late. It's too late. c4, e6, g3, d5, bishop g2, d4, a knight f3, knight c6, castle kingside, and Jan Nepo is the white pieces and Magnus Carlsen is the black pieces. Bishop c5, d3, knight f6, knight b d2, a5, knight b3, attacking that bishop, bishop e7, e3, d takes e3, bishop takes e3, knight g4, attacking that bishop, trying to get that 2 bishop advantage, bishop c5, castle king side, d4, a4, bishop takes e7, queen takes e7, knight c5, a3, b takes a3, rook d8, knight b3, knight f6, rook e1, queen takes a3, queen e2. And this position is kind of dynamic. This is the type of positions that I wanted to see. And honestly, I know white have these hanging pawns right here, and they're already being attacked. But wait a minute, can this position come back? Dang. But black's position needs a little bit of work. That light square bishop needs some work. But dang, now that I'm thinking about it, other than a light square bishop, then there's really nothing else. I guess this knight could be doing something else, but still, like even this A rook is doing pretty good, attacking this A2 pawn. Dang. Yeah. White's position is a little bit uncoordinated in this position now that I'm thinking about it. But it's still pretty equal. They're defending everything. This bishop isn't doing nothing right now, but we'll see. h6, h4, bishop d7, knight e5, bishop e8, queen e3. Just little moves, making your pieces a little bit better than they was. Queen b4, rook eb1, knight takes e5, d takes e5, knight g4, queen e1, queen takes e1, rook takes e1. And I was thinking, just at this moment, maybe there was a draw. Maybe there was an option where a draw would have happened. Right? I was thinking in this moment, that's what I was thinking. I was like, man, after 2 losses, you deserve a draw. Anything other than a draw, and hopefully a win, but like if you get another loss, it is over. There is no coming back from 3 losses. There's like a small chance of coming back from 3 losses. Like it has to be a miracle, right? It's like going on like a metro bus and then sitting on the bench and then finding out that like there's like $10,000 beside you. That's how much a miracle has to come if he loses this game and have to win 3 more games and come back in this World Chess Championship. And so I looked at this game. They did h5, bishop takes b7, rook a4, c5. Horrible move based on the computers. Horrible move. Because after that, c6, trapping the bishop. The bishop was no more. The bishop was trapped. f3, move that knight back. Rook e4, rook a7, rook b4, trying to protect the bishop. But you know what you do. This bishop is trapped. There's no way for that bishop to get out. So just keep on attacking that bishop with the pin. Because now they can't even move that bishop because I will take the rook. a4, no other choice. Rook a takes b7. Rook b6, takes the rook. C takes b6. Rook takes b6. Knight c5. And this is the World Chess Championship. And white is down a piece by a simple tactic of just trapping their piece. I had to do 3 of those because I just want you to understand that was that was intermediate tactics. This isn't like tactics that grandmasters do. Not all the time. It's crazy. And so after knight f5, a5, rook b8, a6, knight takes g3, knight a4, c5, a7, rook d8, knight takes c5, rook a8. Black just, Black was victorious and white just resigned. There is no hope, pretty much. Because even if white does the best move, which was rook a6, knight e2 check, king f2, knight d4, we're going to bring that knight back there, take this pawn, and there is no way for this knight to come through to protect this pawn. And this would have happened definitely, right? Rook takes, knight takes. Can you even take this? We're taking this. Knight b5, and this would have been a win because that's up an extra pawn. That's like a computer win though. I wanna find something else. Wait a minute. You can even do this. That's even winning, and you could just take the pawn on your own time. You can just bring the king over and take the pawn on your own time. That's how much this is winning. And so, yeah, just seeing that loss. Wait a minute, it was right here. After rook a8, it was bad. There is no saving Jan Nepo. And what I think about it, what happened was he wasn't attacking enough in the beginning. He should have started off with something really powerful. And those Roy Lopez's, it does get sharp, and you do have more of a chance of finding like stuff. Like maybe he could have found a weakness in another alternative reality, right? He probably could have found a weakness somewhere else. I don't think that Roy Lopez was the right opening. And he should have brought that energetic gameplay of what he brought to the Canada's tournament to Magnus Carlsen. He needed a contender, somebody that would face him head on. He needed somebody that attacked him instead of him always doing the attacking and finessing his opponents in the end game. I'm gonna stand by this, but it's looking like right now that Fabiano Caruana was probably the best contender of facing Magnus Carlsen. It's looking like it right now. And I still believe that Fabiano Caruana might have been the best classical player of that time. And probably still now. Like, he's still a beast. I'm never going to forget that Sinquefield Cup where he pretty much dominated the top grandmasters in the whole world. His opening preparation is, like, insane. And he might have, it's pretty much looking like he was the best contender against Magnus Carlsen in 2018. Yeah, I respect Jan Nepo. He's doing a good job. I think that first loss rattled him up a little bit. The strategy that he had didn't work out. Hopefully he can win the next 3 games, but it's seeming very bleak. I don't know if that's gonna happen. I would still bet my money on Magnus Carlsen just winning and still being reigning champion. And we're just gonna have to look at the next tournament in 2024 or 2023 nowadays. I don't know. I think it's probably 2023 since we skipped 2020. It's every 2 years. I don't know when they're gonna have the next World Chess Championship, but it's probably too early for that. That's kind of messed up that I even skipped that far into the future, because these games were like massacres, especially for classical games where you have hours to think. And I'm not the best player, right? But I can see when somebody's like I can see when somebody feels defeated, when the fire's out of them. The fighting spirit is not there. Especially that last game was it was hopeless. I'm not gonna lie. It it made me feel bad inside. And I don't like feeling bad inside about somebody, but that made me feel bad. But in chess, there's no kindness, so we have to be blunt about the situations. I'm pretty sure both of these guys are good guys that respect each other, but in this tournament right now, Magnus Carlsen has the edge, and hopefully he can just do that home run without Jan Nepo getting an interception, right? And so that's what I'm thinking what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of people betting on Magnus Carlsen winning the next 5 games, probably on aim chess or whatever, trying to get those prizes. Those are going to be some easy prizes. All you're going to have to guess is like the move count or whatever. And hopefully Jan Nepo can get a couple games in before this tournament stops so that he can get, you know, at least like a couple wins to be like, hey, I was a contender of the world, of becoming the world chess champion. Of becoming the world chess champion. I can't talk nowadays because I don't got enough water, because I just said all those 136 moves right now. Imagine playing that game and have to play like 2 more games after that. That's crazy. That's insane. But gosh. But in other news, thanks for picking H1 today. And peace, bro. Shoot. Peace, bro. Peace, bro. Oh, crap. Yeah, I'm stupid, bro. Yeah.
Pressing on toward the vision, yeah. I see where we was, and I see where we going. It's no turning back. Pressing on toward the vision, yeah. Man, we choosing to get up and keep it moving.